morning. And okay, my name's Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Today's Sunday, and it's the 1st of February, and it's 8:16 in the morning. And let's take a look at what our weather is doing here. I think it's going to be a nice day. I got the sun glaring in my eyes because you don't see it, but behind the screen I'm talking into, there's a great big window. Sunny day, a little overcast, but sunny. Not seeing any rain coming at all. And we're going to hit 71 degrees today. I know some of you are going to go, oh gosh, because you have rough weather, but this is Israel. And Israel is always different than any other place in the world, always. Okay, Tuesday, we're headed for rain, they think, with a rather high probability. They're giving us 80% chance. And then we go back to sunny days with occasional clouding and temperatures going up into the high 60s, mostly mid-high 60s for the future. Occasionally it'll hit 70s. So this will mean to us that we'll be using the heater less once the house warms up. That's the trick here. You got to have, if we have like 3 days of 68 degrees with sun, maybe 4, the house will warm up, and then we won't need the heaters and stuff like that. The other thing is when the weather's like this and it's sunny, you get we get free hot water heating from the solar. Every house in Israel has a solar heater on the roof, and they work. I mean, it gets the water. If you're going to hit 66, 68 with sun, the water will get not scalding, but quite hot enough to use. Now, if we got weather that's 75, even 72 or 3 with sun, you get scalding water where you put your hand under it and you go, ow, you know. So the solar works quite well. And it works too well in the summer because your water is hot and you don't get enough cold water to wash your hands with. That's crazy. You got to run the water to get warm water in the winter, and you got to run the water to get cool water in the summer. Who knows? I don't know anymore. Okay. So we're going to talk about the explosions in Iran during the night, or maybe even late in the afternoon yesterday, and what happened, what we think happened, where we're headed, and what's going on, and we'll bring all the different factors in. All right. Now I'm going to go into the live stream, and we'll do some Bible work also. All the reports that I'm reading, which were extensive, and a lot of them are stating that the negotiations nothing has happened with negotiations. All the reports that I'm reading, which were extensive, and a lot of them are stating that the negotiations nothing has happened with negotiations. All the reports that I'm reading, which were extensive, a lot of them are stating that it's morning here. It's not afternoon. It's morning here. It's not afternoon. All right. Let me put up a post in the chat, and then we'll get moving. All right. Let me put up a post in the chat, and then we'll get moving. I'm almost finished. The post doesn't take long. I just got to watch for typos. I'm almost finished. The post doesn't take long. I just got to watch for typos. Okay, I think we're done with that. And people are coming in. All right, while people still come in, let's do some praise, Old and New Testament. Believers we are, so we'll do praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 So there were a lot of explosions last night in Iran. I think it was about 5 locations in Tyria and down in the south, and there was one in this area they call Bandar, which is where the eyes and the ears of Iran are for the Persian Gulf. And this destroyed some buildings, killed some people, and there's debate as to the reality of this. Some are saying that the numero uno guy for the Iranian Navy was killed in this explosion, and the Iranian government is saying no. Well, they always lie, so like their father Satan. So we don't know. It's a little relevant. It's not highly relevant. What would happen if the number one guy of the Iranian Navy got killed? Well, the number two guy would be the number one guy. That's all. He might be better than the number one guy. You don't know. It's just this targeted assassination stuff. We've seen Israel do it extensively, and it helps for sure, but it's not that effective. It really isn't. It throws the people a bone without having to do massive, massacres in the military. I trust Netanyahu as far as I could throw him, so his motives are always in question to me. So it's very difficult to believe he's on our side. Very difficult. Let me take a look at what's going on here. I think we're okay. All right. The side that Netanyahu's on is Netanyahu's side. I think the guy takes the guy. Yeah, right. I think it takes pleasure in handling all these crises or something like that, but I think it's getting real sick and tired of it. So the Netanyahu thing is, I think, at the end of the line here. What a curse on Israel that thing's been, let me tell you. Oh. All right. That's all my opinion. Let's move on. So how did these explosions happen? Well, the Iranians say they had gas line leaks and explosions. They said that all the time. That's nonsense. I give that on a 10 scale, 10 being a chance of it being real is 0. I don't think there's any chance of that being real. You got 5 areas that are not on top of each other that all decided to explode at the same time. Yeah, right. Come on. Did the Iranians retaliate? No. Is it because they don't know who did it? No, when you're dealing with psychobabbles like that, they'll just attack anybody that they think might have done it. No, no. They're afraid of something. 24 more F-35s came into the theater yesterday. An additional 20. I would think they're up. They're probably someplace between 50 and 75 F-35s in the theater now. And that's not counting the aircraft carrier. So they could deploy a tremendous amount of force. Now, listen to me, the F-35 is not the cat's meow for attacking Iran. The F-35 is the cat's meow for attacking things that have radar that could be a threat to a regular jet because they're stealthy. So it would be useful to knocking out the radar and air defense systems in Yemen, in Iraq, and in Iran. That's what that's really good for. It doesn't carry a large amount of weapons and armaments when it's in stealth mode because the weapons, missiles, bombs, whatever you want, extra fuel tanks, whatever, need to be contained inside the aircraft to be stealthy. If they're outside the aircraft, they're not going to be, they're going to hurt the stealth significantly. So what does that mean? It means they're good to open the door, knock out the radar and the air defense systems, and then you go in. But see, Iran has mobile defense missile launchers. Now, a lot of them are modified. Okay, they were mobile missile launchers designed to protect the skies of Iran and take down threats. They modified those into launching offensive missiles, but they probably have some that also will carry, defensive missiles to protect their skies as well. So that's always a threat to the jets, and that's a difficult challenge to get the mobile launches because they're not in the same place every day necessarily. And they could launch, and if they move a quarter of a mile away, which takes a few seconds maybe or a few minutes to get everything packed up and moved, if you hit the old area, you're not going to get them. So it's a dangerous thing. Nothing here is black and white, easy steezy for America. It's complicated. There's somebody trying to do witchcraft in here. Let's all get together and let's get the Lord to drop on this guy badly, okay? So we'll let Jehovah do it. We won't do it, all right? B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I pray that you would punish as severely as possible, according to your will, the person or persons attempting to do witchcraft during the live stream at me or other people of any sort. They're trying to curse us, and I pray you would curse them. And I ask you to please do it significantly enough so this person cannot continue this career of cursing anymore. And there might be other people that Satan has lined up to step in after we go after the first one to make us think it's not working. So I would ask you to punish all the ones that Satan has lined up to do this, because you would know everything, and punish them all, even if they didn't start, just because they're sitting there and waiting. And I ask you to control what punishment is always up to you. But I do ask you to curse those that are cursing us, and they're cursing us. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can join in with that, okay? See, what Satan will do is line a few up, and then you go into spiritual warfare against one, and then it keeps happening. The same exact thing happens again, and then you go after that one, and you don't understand that there's a string of them. So our Father understands that. He taught it to me. So let him go and get them. That's the best thing. Now, he may very well get them in a way that they don't know they've been gotten. Okay?
Mommy's out. You'll see, and I'll be back in probably 2 hours.
Okay. Were you going local?
Samaria.
Okay. So with Iran, did somebody start the attack already? Well, we need to talk about this, but there's not a lot to talk about. This was not a bunch of protesters that, cooked a bomb in their living room or their kitchen and went over there and put it down and blew it up. This was a sophisticated attack in 5 locations, and it was probably above and beyond something the protesters would be able to do, especially since they've been persecuted so harshly. Now, Trump is saying that the Iranians stopped killing the protesters. That's a lie. Okay? See, Trump lies a lot. Okay? He lies a lot. Okay? That's a lie. They haven't stopped. And the executions have never been suspended. They just maybe slowed down. But they're still executing people. And people are disappearing. And then he's saying, well, if we can get them to stop their nuclear development, it'd be a big deal. So what this piece of trash Trump is doing now, you got to listen to what a sick person he is. He is saying that if Iran made concessions on their nuclear deal, he would not fight a war against them. Now, a minimum of 86,667 protesters are dead. We don't know how many are in jail, and we don't know how many are hiding to not be put in jail and then executed. We don't know. Okay? And he promised them that help is coming. Where is the help? Help is, guys, I know 86,000 of you died, but I'm going to get Iran to end their nuclear program, and that's worth it. Sorry you're all dead, but, it was worth it. You see what a backstabbing piece of trash this president of the United States is? You think he's really better than Biden and Obama? I don't. Or Clinton. I think he's cut out of the exact same cloth as these other piece of crap presidents America's had. They don't call it the daughter of Babylon for nothing. Trump is garbage. And people are still, Trump 2028, they're crazy. The people that do this are out of their minds. They have no ability to analyze news. They're like brain dead or something. They're not literally brain dead, but they're dumb. Trump is playing everybody for a sucker. Now, the other thing is an Article 25 on Trump, I think, might happen. He really is not with it. Okay? So you think these protesters are going to believe Trump anymore? Every day that Trump waits, a lot of Iranian protesters die. He doesn't care. When I tell you he doesn't care, I mean not in the least. Okay? He's got a heart after Satan's. That's why he's in the office. It's terrible. Look what he did to America with the tariffs. Look at what you pay for things when you go to the store. Look at how he never gave you the stipend he said he would. Look at how him and Elon Musk went into Fort Knox and were going to tell us all about the gold and never told us. Never. Never even talks about it. This is your idea. There's people so stupid, they go around and say, Trump 2028. Now, they did release the Epstein files, 300 something thousand. I don't know if they were redacted a lot or anything yet. I don't know what's gone out there because everybody's distracted with this thing going on with Iran. Is it possible that Trump staged the releasing of the documents when the tensions with Iran were high? Absolutely. Is it possible that he would have spent $900 million moving military assets around to cover up his releasing of the Epstein documents? 101%. 100%, no doubt about it, he would do that. Okay? So America has a massive problem with Trump. Massive. On a 10 scale, 10 being the worst, you got a 9.8. The only thing I could think of that would be worse than what Trump's doing would be along the lines of rounding up minorities and putting them in concentration camps, really stupid things like that, or telling ICE to go out and machine gun protesters. I mean, but he's so bad, you know. So is it possible that this was a military attack on Iran? Yes. Is it likely it was? Yes. How did it come about? Was it missiles? It could have been missiles, but it probably wasn't. Why? Well, I live in Israel. Missiles make noises. You get used to them when they come in, okay? They don't come like silent death. Some of them scream, they go, and a roar, like they got a roar thing, like a jet engine thing at the same time. Others just have it. They don't sound like airplanes. They're different, okay? So their missile defense systems didn't go up. Well, we could always say that these were very stealthy missiles, but I don't think so. Stealthy missiles are still going to make a racket when they fly in, and people are going to hear them. What do I think happened? If they did use a missile, they used a cruise missile that was low flying and may have escaped their radar. But nobody said they heard missiles or seen it. In the past, they would say they heard the missiles. So what I think happened was it was drone or drones attacking. Could they have been launched from inside Israel? Well, to make those kind of explosions, they would have been substantially sized drones, and I doubt they were launched from inside Iran, rather inside Iran. I doubt it. I mean, it doesn't add up. Okay? It doesn't add up. They would have had to smuggle them in and this and that. So is it possible that at night they did halo parachuting, high altitude, low opening parachuting with special forces in the jungle area or something like that, in the mountains rather. And they dropped drones with them and drone launching equipment. It's very unlikely because how would they transport the stuff around when they land? The drone could be, landing an eighth of a mile from where they were. And then how do they move it into the jungle where they want it? It doesn't sound right. Okay. Um, we don't know. I mean, they could have dropped the vehicle to move the drone around. I don't know. I think they were launched from outside Iran, and the radar didn't pick them up. These could have been smart drones with jamming. Now, I know about 2 days ago there was a lot of jamming in the east side, the side of the Persian Gulf that's closed, where you can't go anywhere, kind of where Kuwait is around there. There was a lot of GPS jamming going on there. So maybe they disabled the radar, or the radar couldn't read these drones, or something happened and the drones came in. But there was ordnance blowing it up. There wasn't, a gas leak thing. Okay, that's their lie. So why are they lying? They're afraid. Does that mean they're not going to retaliate? No, it doesn't. It means they're afraid and they might want to be taking a hard look at who did it and how and what, because they're afraid it'll happen again. I don't know. Okay, but it wasn't a natural occurrence. It's extremely unlikely that the protesters could have done this. It's possible that special forces did it, but you got to understand the complexity of this. That means special forces were smuggled into Iran somehow, and they could come in through land borders, and yeah, they could get in. And you know, people that are against the Iranian government have a network there, and they were helping special forces. In other words, these people are hiding, and they're not going to get picked up by the Iranian IRGC. They're guerrilla fighters, and they help the Americans get in and stuff like that. The other thing that could have happened is the Americans could have gone and painted the target with laser or some other GPS coordinates or something, and transmitted it with encryption, and then the drone was launched based on the location. But you got to understand, they would need American American special forces that speak, the Persian language perfectly without a heavy accent. If they had an American or a European accent or something like that, and they had an interface with the security forces, they would come under suspicion. So, in other words, if you go to learn Farsi, the Iranian language, for 6 months or 12 months, you're going to have you're going to be at best have the fluency of some kid in the ninth or 10th grade, okay? Maybe a little higher, but probably 8, 9, or 10th grade, something like that. And that's probably going to be like a lot of what the Iranian people have in terms of what they're capable of, but your accent's going to be wrong. And to get more fluent, they'd have to put them in language school probably for 2 years. And then to get rid of the accent, it may take depending how fast the person learns, it could take 3 months to a year. 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 3 months to a ye So Iran didn't respond. Somebody blew them up and they didn't do anything yet. Now, the military exercises with China and Russia are still ongoing today. They were ongoing during the explosions. So Trump may have gotten under the table information from China and or Russia that they were compelled to do the exercises with Iran because they said they would months ago, and they intends to do it, and then they're going to leave. So maybe they told Iran, you got to wait till the exercise is over and our ships leave before you fight America, because we don't want to get our ships attacked, and it'll be a big world war, which may very well be the case as to how this unfolds. Or the other side of the coin is Russia and Iran are real prepared, and they're waiting to get another 15 or 25 warships into the region. And then the counterattack's going to come. I don't know. It looks to me that the Chinese and Russian naval vessels may never leave. They may sit around for weeks. In the hope of stopping a war, because Trump, as cowardly as he is going to be afraid that they may get scared and lose their temper and fire missiles at his ships. Now, the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier was about 700 kilometers away from Iran, and it yesterday turned around and is headed back into the Indian Ocean, towards the Indian Ocean, putting more distance between itself and Iran. It's afraid of getting sunk, okay? How far out did it probably go? As a guess, 1,200 miles. So these things move. They can go 35 knots, which is pushing 40 miles an hour. But with the destroyers, I don't know. Let's say they're running at 30 miles an hour. So at 10 hours, they did 300, then they do 600. Let's say they do 700 miles in a day. So it's another day. So it's, where are we at now? We're Sunday. Probably Monday afternoon, Monday evening, it'll be sufficiently far away from Iran. Now, the destroyers, they're probably not that worried about. Destroyer is a much harder target to hit. A destroyer has a lot of defenses. It's small. It zigs, zags, countermeasures, blah, blah, blah. And it's not a capital ship. It's recoverable. You're going to lose 250, 300 guys, not 5,000. And you're not going to lose a ton of aircraft. So maybe the American aircraft carriers going full out, which is probably about 40 miles an hour. And that means in a given day, it goes about 9. So it might be by this afternoon or the evening, it's far enough away from Iran to not worry. The other thing that I want you to understand is this: go fast boats. Let's talk about those. Iran's got like 1,500 of those, okay, or more. Some people will say it's 1,000-ish. Others will say we don't know. Others might say it's even 2,000. I don't know. It was 1,500 2 years ago, so I don't know. It could be 2,500. I don't know how many they got. All right, let's talk. These boats are typically 50 to maybe 70 feet, and they're going to go pretty fast, okay? Some of them might go 60, 70 miles an hour. That's very, very fast, okay? But what's the range of these boats, So if they want to send the Go Fast boats to chase after the Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Strike Force, and it's 700 kilometers away, which is, like 420 miles, I don't think it's a problem to run those Go Fast boats 420 miles, and they can put barrels of gas in the boat, like 250-gallon drums, and have a pump and a hose, and they just keep pumping it into the gas tank. Uh, they could run something like that and go back and forth. Okay. But when you're looking at 1,200 miles one way, that's not like getting out 400 miles. Um, let's get some information. What is the average range of an Iranian Go Fast boat? That's a good thing to ask. Let's see. Um, what is an average range for an Iranian Go Fast boat to be able to travel without refueling? Of course, it's going to be how fast it's running. If it's running at high speed, it's going to burn fuel pretty quick. Um, they're saying that some of them could go 500 nautical miles without refueling. Now, I don't know if they could, you know, add extra fuel tanks in and get another 500 miles, but it doesn't appear likely a craft of that size is by any stretch going to get a range of going out 1,200 miles to attack an aircraft carrier and coming home. Even if they go kamikaze on them and say, just go 1,200 miles and blow the aircraft carrier up and become a martyr, even if they do something stupid like that, which they're capable of doing, uh, the boat wouldn't even get out 1,200 miles. It should be coming in closer to Diego Garcia. They brought in another 350 B-52s yesterday, America to Diego Garcia. So in reality, we might have someplace, I would say on the low side, 5, and maybe we have 7 B-52s now in Diego Garcia, which is a tremendously large amount. But if Trump wanted to quash the missile cities in Iran, he would need to have perhaps 25 B-52s, and they would be making probably 3 bomb runs a day. And even then, there's absolutely no guarantee they would take out these underground cities. Now, we have a problem. It came out, now we got to verify this, but Iraq yesterday released photos or videos or both of an underground missile city built in Iraq at some undisclosed location. First thing is the Israelis are going to make sure it's real. Second thing is they're going to figure out where the heck it is. And then third, it's going to get hit. It may not. Um, so Trump's hiding his aircraft carrier with the destroyers away from the Iranians. So that tells you that the threat level from Iran is high. Right? What else does it tell you? It tells you closing the Persian Gulf just escalated. And it might be that Iran's trying to work this thing with China and or Russia, mostly China. Okay, China has probably double or triple the voice of Russia when you get into a thing like this, okay? Russia's got a say, and China respects Russia, but they override Russia. You know, they're considering themselves way more important than Russia. So I think we're headed for a Persian Gulf closure. Iran knows they got hit. They know it wasn't gas explosions, okay? They don't want to create more panic. They were panicking last night. The IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, they're the ones beating up and killing the protesters and stuff. They are not really the regular army per se. They're not the ones that go around understanding how to work with artillery and missile pods and hold mountains and hold passes and hold bridges and attack cities. This is the regular army. The IRGC are more like, thugs, not really the regular army. Hitler had what did he call them? I think the SS. They were just designed to protect Hitler. Wherever Hitler was, they would be. And there could be thousands and thousands and thousands of them, So, Khomeini did go out yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, and visit the grave of the previous Khomeini, the one that was the spearheaded the 79 revolution. He's dead. Now, I don't know if this moron is dumb enough and if the unclean spirits play him enough where he goes out there and actually talks to, the dead Khomeini. This would be a familiar spirit, one of the unclean spirits that was in Khomeini, the original Khomeini, and knows Khomeini really good, actually talking to the new Khomeini, the one in power now, and playing him like a fiddle, making the idiot think he's talking to the dead Khomeini. Demons don't care about the people that serve them. You got to understand that. Okay. That would be the way to get blind manipulation of Ayatollah Shmuckmani. I hope you don't mind if we call him Ayatollah Shmuckmani, because he is a schmuck. He's so dumb. Yeah. Okay, so here we are. And we got Trump moving the aircraft carrier and the strike group away from Iran. And more empty promises from Trump, of course. And is he actually just doing a retreat? I don't know. I doubt it. He's trying to win the war without fighting a war. And that's a great thing to try on paper, but it doesn't work, as evidenced by Trump's failures. Trump's negotiation efforts in the last year have been pretty bad. Okay. He's failed miserably. What has he done? Very little of anything he does ever works out. Okay. So I don't know what is going on. Trump's never going to tell us. he's not going to tell us what's going on. He never will. He doesn't think we're worthy of knowing. Why would he tell us? He says he gave an ultimatum deadline to Iran. Well, I'm not so sure about that based on the multiple bombing or explosion attacks yesterday in Iran. Israel came out and denied that they had anything to do with it. Do I believe Israel? Yeah. Did America come out and say they had nothing to do with it? No. Did anybody take responsibility for it? No, not yet. Is Iran capable of figuring out who did it? Yes and no. I mean, it's America. They're the ones in position, and they're the ones that have the technology. So I believe they're going to assume it was America. They're not going to think it was Mexico or Greenland or Hong Kong. They're going to think it was America. So I'm back to the next likely is closing the Persian Gulf. And it doesn't seem highly likely that Trump's going to launch any sort of a serious attack with his military. Right now, Israel's just kind of on alert, but Netanyahu, I don't believe, has any green light from Trump to attack Iran. Trump is still bringing military equipment into the area. And curiously, Trump is not going with warships like Biden did when he had 42. He's not doing that. He's going with airplanes. He's going with air assets. And I would assume that's a result of the Pentagon's logic, and it's probably very sound logic. And if Trump listens to the Pentagon, he'll go far. I myself cannot imagine Trump listening to the Pentagon. I mean, he listens to what they have to say, but then he goes and does what he wants to do, which is cowardly. Saudi Arabia went to Trump and they said to him, doing nothing is worse now because you're enabling Iran. So, in other words, they're saying you're making Iran cocky. What happened is America went to Saudi Arabia and they sold them a few billion or $1 billion worth of some kind of Patriot missiles. And then Saudi Arabia flip-flopped and, yeah, okay, let's go get Iran. We'll go attack Iran, They wouldn't, but they let America. So they sold out. But now that they sold out, it's making a statement to America publicly that if you don't attack them now, it's going to get worse because their head's going to pump up bigger. They're going to get a bigger and bigger head. And they're going to, and Saudi Arabia would be like their number one target. The Iranians would like nothing more than to occupy Saudi Arabia and own it. It won't happen. At this point, we can't say Trump's going to really attack Iran. More mysterious explosions? Yeah. We had these more mysterious explosions for months after the 12-day war, and I'm rather certain it was Israel doing it. So is it possible that Israel's really doing this and we did this last night? Yes. Why would Israel not say it? Well, if Iran knows it and keeps it quiet, they won't take action on it. Okay? That's the way the Iranians operate. If Israel goes out and says, hey, sucker, we blew you up, man. We're going to go blow you up again, sucker. That that's inflammatory, and then Iran feels they have to react, okay? So maybe Israel did do it. Do we think Israel did it not in coordination with America? Nah. Then I wouldn't do that. All right, let's see what else we got here. So the following areas were hit in Iran. I think it was 6 areas. It was Bandar Abbas, which is what they use to protect a lot of these islands around the Persian Gulf, I believe near the Straits of Hormuz. And that's their eyes and ears, their listening posts and stuff to protect the Persian Gulf. And that got blown up. Buildings went, everything else. Big bomb explosions. It could have been, it might have been multiple drones, okay? Another city called Tabriz, another one called Vaz, another one's called Farand, another one called Tehran, the capital, and another one called Kashim. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6, not 5, 6 locations. And Iran's done nothing. So what is that going to do? Whoever's putting these explosives in place, it's going to drive them on. Now, is there a chance that Iran wants to monitor these explosions as they get censored, knows who did it? Maybe. Khomeini's advisor in Iran, I should say Ayatollah Shmukmeni, I'm sorry. The target bank has expanded. That means the amount of targets that they've created for their missiles is expanded. The assessment is that the battle is moving from passive defense to offensive deterrence. This in baby talk means they want to do a first strike to shut America up. So that would be consistent with Trump moving the aircraft carrier away. Look, Iran wants nothing more than to take down that aircraft carrier, let me tell you. The naval part of the IRGC announced the deployment of cruise missiles with a range exceeding 1,000 kilometers. Yeah, 600 miles, sure. To confront the American naval presence in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, which is right next door to the Persian Gulf. So they were about 400 miles away, and that wasn't far enough away. So that is very likely one of the other reasons the Abraham Lincoln was moved at a greater distance. Now, that doesn't mean Trump's not going to attack. I got to be fair, because he's going to attack with air. See, the thing is, Trump's got submarines, you better believe it. He's got Navy vessels, you better believe it. He's got Navy vessels that launch aircraft called aircraft carriers, and he's got all kinds of aircraft. He's loaded for bear. So they already started, Russia, China, and Iran already started their exercises in the Straits of Hormuz area, and I don't know how long they're going to last. They were supposed to just be today, and then it's over, but China captured with pictures locations of the American THAAD and Patriot batteries, missile defense systems, to stop drones, missiles. And Iran, with this information, can attack these Patriot and THAAD systems with their drones and missiles. So America may have to move and relocate these things, and that is probably not an overwhelmingly large job at all, but we'll see. It might not do any good because then China will just capture a new photo, and every time they move, it'll get captured. So the Americans may just not bother. So we're not getting a lot of information that's truthful coming out of Trump's mouth, but by understanding the movement of his military assets, we can understand what he's doing a lot better. The military warships doing exercises with Iran could have been the reason Trump moved his Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier strike group out of there too. The Pentagon sent a warning to China, Russia, and Iran. We warned the Iranian Revolutionary Guards to avoid any dangerous actions in the shipping lane during their exercises in the Straits of Hormuz. Well, then they also warned them about exercises with China and Russia, like buzzing aircraft, buzzing planes, scaring people. They basically were telling them they wouldn't put up with it. But that doesn't mean that they won't. You're dealing with Trump now, you know. The Americans said, we will not tolerate any unsafe actions by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, and they also would mean China and Russia working with them. So I don't know what China and Russia are going to do, but so far they haven't done anything nasty with their exercises. And it could be their exercises wrap up tomorrow and they chug out of there, but I have a feeling that China and Russia don't mind leaving 3 or 4 of their destroyers there each to possibly stop an American attack. Because Trump is scared and he doesn't know what'll happen, what these cruisers and in the attacks last night that Iran's calling gas explosions, there was a bunch injured and I think 5 or 6 dead that we know about so far that Iran will admit and so forth. It still remains unknown if we killed the naval commander in Iran. I don't know. It's possible. Um, Iran has said this: we have designated 82 metro, that's subway, stations in Tehran as shelters. So those things are frequently, 50, 100 somewhat feet below the ground. They could be more. And they're designating them as shelters. And they're going to make sure they supply the I'm trying to pull all the news I collected on this out for you. They also took 300 commercial parking lots and made them into shelters. Now this is a language problem. An open dirt or concrete paved parking lot is not a bomb shelter. What are you going to sit there, and get hit by shrapnel? No, they must mean parking where you go down ramps into the ground. You go down several layers under the ground. That's pretty much what I think it has to be, because you're not going to get any protection just by, laying around in an open lot. So this is to calm the people down, and yeah, it will offer a certain amount of protection. I can't imagine America using bunker busters to go penetrate parking garages to kill civilians. I mean, I don't imagine they would do anything like that. I would think that that's not something that you'll see happen. The Iranians are saying we're going to ensure electricity supply to the 2.5 million people. I guess that's who they think is going to go into bomb shelter. I don't know what they're talking about. And I also don't know how in the world they're going to ensure electricity. They said they were going to put necessary supplies in these subway stations, maybe the parking lots too. Um, Maybe, I don't know what that involves. First aid kits, blankets, nothing. I don't know. So this guy, whatever they call this fat kid, Prince Dictator Bum in Saudi Arabia, um, is a piece of garbage. He's very much concerned with Iran, very afraid of them. The United States just approved $6.5 billion of weapons for Israel, 30 Apache helicopters. Now, those things are armored, so when you shoot them, they don't come down so easily. And they're very, very heavily weaponized. They're very potent. And Israel could use those a lot in Gaza and the West Bank. $30 is not that much, but it's not that little either. Israel is also buying, you got to listen to this, 3,250 armored vehicles. At the same time as this, America made a deal with Saudi Arabia for $9 billion. That's what flipped Saudi Arabia. $9 billion for Patriot missiles, 730 Patriot missile systems. People say that the Patriots can easily be turned into an offensive missile system. And I think Saudi Arabia would like that if it's true. Let's see if that is true. Hold on. Russia used to say that. Let's see what they say. Is it true that the American Patriot missile system can be easily converted into launching offensive missiles at enemies, not just defensive missiles? It's researching. Let's see. It's saying that the short answer is no. It could be true. Could be true. All right. Russia's saying that it can be offensive doesn't mean much with me. Russia lies. So that's when Saudi Arabia said, okay, we'll go against Iran. Now, 730 of these Patriot systems isn't coming this week. That's going to take a long time to deliver. But the Saudis wanted that, I'm sure, so they could protect their houses, their mansions, several oil fields, stuff like that. That's important to them. And Trump is sitting there saying that he's talking to Iran. He could hope he make a deal, and then Iran is saying America's not serious. We're not, taking them seriously. So Trump's again lying. He does that very, very frequently. This is interesting. Let me read this to you. Among the possible scenarios to increase the scope of Iran's first wave of missile attacks against America/Israel targets, transferring short-range ballistic missiles from the Fatah family to Iraq territory is an option for Iran, although it seems this option could only be used once. Yeah, seems they've already given the missiles to Iraq. So they could hit American bases, oil refineries in the region, and Israel. But it's so easy for us to blow Iraq up with our weapons and our planes. And it's, what's our flight time to hit Iraq if we put the afterburners on with the jets? I don't know, less than 10 minutes, I guess, maybe 10 minutes. And does that give them much time to get ready? Well, get ready with what? They don't have what to get ready with. We just fire out, when they turn up their radar, we fire out the Lila missiles from inside Israel or from aircraft. It's a cruise missile that gets on the radar beam and goes there and blows the radar up. Once the radar is gone, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Now it's supposedly an underground missile city that could continue launching, but they'll get devastated if they try this. The Iranian foreign minister, Ghachi, this is a high-ranking goofball. He says, as long as there are threats against Iran, there will be no negotiations. Threats means warships and planes in the area. So did Trump ever really negotiate with Iran? I'm not sure. Maybe never. He could be completely lying about this. They go on. Currently, there is no serious basis for negotiations, and as long as the threatening atmosphere is not removed, there will be no negotiations. However, in response, currently there is no serious basis for negotiations, and as long as the threatening atmosphere is not removed, there will be no negotiations. However, in response to any attack, Iran's reaction will be severe and very strong because the country has full capability to defend itself and is not dependent on any side, although the primary preference is still the diplomatic path. And they got hit last night, and what did they do? Nothing. But Trump's saying negotiations with them, and they're saying no negotiations. I believe Iran, because Trump repeatedly lies about these things. He lies about ceasefires. He lies, he lies, he lies, he lies. So what I'm concerned with is what happened with Iran and the attacks last night, that they're not doing anything. It's a little bit hard to believe that they're not doing anything, but they might be consulting with China and Russia and trying to get them involved. I expect that's one of the things that's going on. Just because Khomeini has an advisor, it doesn't mean he listens to the advisor. What the advisor could likely be doing is the advisor goes and sits down with the generals and they tell him what's going on. And then he goes back and tells it to Khomeini and says, "Oh, Supreme Leader, what is your decision? What should I tell the military to do?" And it's probably more like that. But you better believe we're in critical mass here close to war. I mean, it appears that we're already at war. The war started. I mean, unless you want to think Iran had a bunch of mysterious gas explosions in locations far apart all at the same time, while there's a high risk of war. So I guess we're seeing Trump slinging the bull like crazy, and that's because he wants the people to think that he's something other than what he is. He's telling them, he's saying that yesterday he said that Iran stopped killing the people. No, they didn't. And he knows that. What does Trump do now? If he wants to get out of this thing, I'll tell you what Trump's going to do. Trump's going to say he made some sort of a deal with Iran, and Iran's going to deny that such a deal was ever made. And he's just going to completely pull a lie like that, which makes me think they need to Article 25 this guy because he's really crazy. The Lincoln aircraft carrier is going away, but how do you know the Lincoln aircraft carrier is not going 7,000 miles away? You don't know. He could have just pulled out. It's over. I don't know. He's such a jerk. You don't know what you're dealing with there. He's likely one of the worst presidents you ever had in the history of America, and you don't know it. Okay, prayer requests. I didn't cover this. I'll pray. Okay, there's terrible cold weather in parts of America now, like minus temperatures, and lots of snow, like approaching a foot, 10 inches, and stuff like that. So we got to pray for one of our people, and then we'll pray for all the true believers, okay? And I'll put the prayer up, and you guys can agree with it, okay? So, where two or more of you agree, it'll be done by our Father in heaven, right? Okay. That's using the keys of the kingdom, all right? My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for PC, Papa Charlie PC. I pray that PC doesn't lose power and gets through these troubling times without any serious damage or any major problems or inconveniences of a massive nature or a big nature. And I also pray the same for all the true believers affected by this bad weather in America. I pray that their power doesn't go out and they get through this without any major complications or difficulties. And I ask you would do this, my Heavenly Father, for, of course, PC, who's one of the true believers and the true believers. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that. Okay? Let me take this down because that's the only. So I also add on to this prayer, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, that these people would have food and their water keeps working as well as them having heat and being able to stay comfortable. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that too. Let's jump into the live stream and see what's going on there if we're getting questions. And then we'll do some Bible things. Okay, I think we're done with that. And all right, while people still come in, let's do some praise, Old and New Testament. Believers we are, so we'll do praise. I think we've had a lot of people writing nasty, bad comments in the chat is what we've had. Let me see. How do you think about USA now? I think the destruction of the daughter of Babylon is very close. One of our subscribers, the Lord told this person that the destruction of the daughter of Babylon has already begun. And that was about a month ago. Am I a Trump supporter? You got to be kidding. What Trump did to the Iranian protesters, he could do to you, and he'll probably do to Israel. It says in Jeremiah 50:51 that America will do evil in our sight, which means here, where we could see it. He's already done evil to us. When I see people sit there and say Trump 2028, I really feel sorry for people like this. They don't have a brain that they know how to use. Unless they hate America and they want to see America destroyed and themselves with it, then that's when you say Trump 2028. It's like suicide. Charlie Kirk, that's the dead guy. It's irrelevant. I don't even pay attention to that. The Bible doesn't teach us about negative energy, guys. That's like from, Buddhism with the chi and that sort of stuff. All right. There's nothing going on in the chat. So let me take a quick look at my social media and see if anything just recently popped up. And we'll do gold and silver prices, which were not so bad, not so good. And the gold was at 48, which is $700 down. They got their little game played, you know, in suppressing the gold. And then they're going to acquire it. And when the war hits, it'll run up in value. I imagine that's what they're doing. Let's see if we got anything new breaking. You never know. Let's check somewhere else here. Hang on a minute. Can't go there. Let me go here. There's still a lot of people in Israel that are, giving Trump credit where they shouldn't be. If Trump was scared to fight, which he is, and scared of war, then he should just hang out in the United States. I don't see anything happening. He should just hang out in the United States with his military and not try to stir up the pot. But what this guy tries to do is win wars without fighting a war. And they see through him. What's a little surprising is what happened last night. Did the United States do it, or did Israel do it? Who did it? Malta didn't do it. Who did it? Jamaica? No. Who did it? I don't know who did it. It would be Israel or America, I believe. It could be both. And now Iran's afraid to do anything about it. See, this is stemming back from Satan, who's the head of all the nations, and every single nation in the world is answering to Satan. That's how far this has become over the 2,000 years of punishment on Israel. So Satan is sitting there saying, oh, I've got my leaders in charge of every single country in the world. Why the heck should I have any wars? All I can do is lose. I'm winning now, but it won't work for him at all. Satan should have a tattoo on his forehead that says born to lose. Well, I don't think he was born to lose. He chose to lose. They're just right loser, So is this the war that's just never going to happen? Nah, I don't think so. Somebody attacked last night, and they're not finished. They're going to do it again. They got away with it. Nothing happened. No repercussions. They're going to do it again and again and again. This is, so really the war started. Somebody did it. The war's on, okay? If it's the protesters, they're being backed by America, Israel, MI5, MI6, France, Germany, all of them. Okay. money, weapons, technology, intel, and all that. They're getting backed. So we'll have to see what happens. I don't think this is over. I don't think this is over. And I think the potential for this to go into a World War III is very high. Extremely. It's so high, I would say the chances of it not going into a World War III are extremely low, almost non-existent. I mean, it's just about gotta go. There's people that care about Iran and stuff, All right. Maybe Iran's doing nothing because China and Russia are sending more warships over here. And then they'll attack America. Gold is 48.89, so it's not so bad off. It's almost at 49, and that's almost at 5,000 again. And silver's at 85, so they ran silver down about $30. So somebody made a big run on driving the price of this stuff down. They got platinum down to 21.89, curiously, and they got rhodium down to an even $10,000 an ounce. Rhodium is not anything you want to buy, nor the other metals. You just want a palladium, or you don't want platinum or palladium or rhodium. Just gold and silver. It'll come back up. Let me take a break and then we'll do some Bible. I'll be right back. I'm not going to take long. Pretty quick, actually. Let's see what we could do today that would be interesting. Let's take a look at Revelation 18. And let's take an eye at that, look at it, and see if perhaps it's Iran attacking America. Maybe it's not. We did this before. We'll do it again. It's interesting. It's fun. And after these things, this is Revelation 18:1. I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit. And a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now, this is not the end of America. And this angel is likely Michael, the glory God of Israel. For all nations have, you see, if we knew for sure it was Michael, it would tell us a lot about sequencing of end times events, because then we could combine it with Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee, and Michael going into the temple in Ezekiel 43. But I can't definitively say for sure it's Michael. Okay? The earth was lighted with his glory. Sounds like that's a prophetic event. Maybe he's down on earth and doesn't go into the temple for a while. I don't know. He might go to the wilderness with the tabernacle for the people doing the next great Exodus. I don't know. For all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Now, how could that be the Pope? Do the Muslims listen to the Pope? Do the Buddhists listen to the Pope? Do the Jews listen to the Pope? Do the Hindus listen to the Pope? Do the atheists listen to the Pope? No. Okay? I ain't the Pope. It's America. They all listen to America. Drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication. That's a spiritual fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. So this probably is Michael, because this is the next great Exodus. This is the trumpet sounding. This is your getting ready for redemption. Or maybe redemption already happened. We're seeing the prophecies at a different angle or a different perspective. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her lawlessness. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double portion of bad, double according to her works in the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. It's a double shot of the cup of the wrath of the Lord, basically, okay? How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. And look what America just did to the protesters in Iran. 86,000 or more dead on a broken promise of Trump. That's how they are. And it goes back, the Trail of Tears with wiping out the Indians, the Civil War wiping each other out, the Vietnam burning the people's houses and everything. They're terrible. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. God is no respecter of persons, including Israel. Israel gets punished. Now tell me America's not going to get punished because it's so great. Tell me America's not going to get a double portion of punishment when God says it. What's wrong with you? Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. Now, the word for plagues, it really means a hit. The 10 plagues of Egypt were 10 hits, okay? But you want to call them a plague, it's misleading. That's why they translated it that way. It's a hit. You'd say in Yiddish, it's a zetz. Like zetz and cup is a shot in the head or a hit in the head. Come in one day. That Yiddish is not Bible. It's not. Okay, so I just use it because it's cool, I think. That's all. But, okay. Death and mourning and famine. Have we seen the mourning in America? M-O-U-R-N, not A-M, mourning like death? No. Have we seen the famine in America? No, but that's on its way. And she shall be utterly burned with fire. Are we seeing a lot of fires in America? Because it says, be fires in and about the cities, plural. Yeah. The fires have slowed down, but there were a lot. For strong is Jehovah Elohim, who judgeth her. Now, with the fires, people say, well, the fires in California, blah, blah. Well, if we had a big fire, like in 30 major cities in the United States and each fire killed 82,000 people, I would say that's a sign. See, that's a person confusing signs with the actual destruction. If it's a sign, it's not the actual full destruction, okay? Like diverse earthquakes in great places. Well, if you had a 9.5 earthquake in 3 or 4 places in the United States, you'd probably have tens of millions of people dead, if not hundreds of millions. So that's the actual destruction. And people don't know that because nobody teaches it to them. All right. Saying, I will not sit a widow, I'm a queen. And that is in Isaiah 47. We'll go there next and look at it. And shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judgeth her. Now, the fires could be started as arson, it could be fire and brimstone, it could be from missiles, drones, bombs, we know not. But it happens in one day. It's suddenly. You're not going to see it building up, boom, 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 boom. In America, it's going boom, suddenly. And it's also going to say in a day and an hour. All right. And the kings of this earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Standing afar off, the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. That's Washington, D.C. Babylon, there's no word like that in the Bible. It's Babel, and that means confusion. And the merchants of the earth, and it's not just the city of D.C., and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Their merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner of vessels. So let me start interpreting some of this to you. Okay, the gold and the precious stones, that's jewelry. That's, crazy watches with rubies and sapphires in them out of gold and platinum, and pearls, expensive pearls, precious stones, diamonds, and all that stuff. Fine linen. They buy bed sheets that cost $2,000 or $3,000. You don't know what those bed sheets feel like. Neither do I, but they're probably pretty good. And purple, that's an expensive fabric. And silk, that's expensive. Scarlet and all thy wood. They buy all kinds of rare woods to decorate their house and their furniture. And all manner of vessels of ivory, they make things out of ivory, for the house, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, all kinds of woods, furniture, tables, and of brass, and of iron, and marble tables, marble furniture, marble floors, uh, all of this stuff, right? So they're bringing all this stuff into America for the rich, right? And cinnamon and odors, that's perfume, cologne. Cinnamon's expensive thing. And ointments, those are the expensive creams that like women put on their face for $300 a bottle. And frankincense, that's an anti-inflammatory herb, and wine, expensive wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, that's expensive, horses, millions of dollars for horses, and Brahma bulls, and rare dogs and birds, all that, right? And chariots, I would say today you're looking at Rolls Royces and things like that, Bentleys, Ferraris, and slaves. They got slaves, and souls of men. They drag men down, phony churches and things like that. Hold on, my crappy iPad jumped the chapters, and that nice. It's such a. I don't want to start up. Okay, let me get back where I was. Now I'm in verse 14 of Revelation 18. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. They buy fruit, they'll buy like cherries and kiwis 12 months a year. They got grocery stores that sell this expensive stuff, like in California, New York, where the wealthier are. Lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and good are departed from thee. So that's the being poor in America's coming, okay? And thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. They're sad. They lost their marketplace. Who are they going to go sell all this expensive crap to? Nobody's going to buy it at those high prices. And saying, alas, alas, that great city, that's DC, that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried. You see, a lot of times for many years, the ships got to wait days and days and days, could be weeks, to offload in LA or other big ports. So they sit out in the water, stationary in the water, and wait to get in and offload. So they're standing afar off watching the places burn, wherever places are going to burn. Apparently, it's not just DC. For in 1 hour, so great riches come to naught, and every shipmaker, the shipmaster, and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many that trade by sea, stood afar off. So this seems to be more than just around DC. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, "What city?" Well, they no, it's just they're watching DC burn, I guess. Okay. What's like unto this great city? They cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, "Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason in 1 hour is she made desolate. In a day and an hour. In an hour. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. Now, a very bad sign of being saved is when you're upset and mad and angry that America is going to be destroyed. That's not a real strong indication of your salvation. Get that down. If the prophets and the apostles in heaven are rejoicing over the destruction of the United States, daughter of Babylon, and you're not, there's something wrong with you. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, cast it, oh, this junk bucket got out of hand again, cast it into the sea, saying, "Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be no more heard. In other words, the place is desolate. And the light of a candle shall no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Yeah, they're witches. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. That's probably referencing the unclean spirit. Now, let me help you understand why it's Washington and D.C. Okay. Washington, D.C. stands for District of Columbia. It is not in any of the 50 states. It is a city administered by the federal government. It is not a state. It is not a country. It is not in any of the 50 states. It is a city. It has a mayor. It is a city. Now, who the heck is Columbia? It's called District of Columbia. Well, I'm going to show you who the heck Columbia is graphically with pictures, and you'll know. I never saw one church ever do this. I'll put it on the screen. That's the original Columbia Motion Pictures icon. That's Columbia. A flat-chested woman of whatever sex we don't know, standing with the sun, I guess, on a pedestal, holding the light, telling you that she's got the light. Come to me. Let me give you the more modern version of this abomination. Oh, iPads, such crap. That's the more modern one. A flat-chested something that looks like a woman, we don't know what it is, on a pedestal with the light. Okay? That's Satan. Somebody whose sex we can't determine. All right. Now, that is the Statue of Liberty. Do I have to show you the Statue of Liberty? Sure, I'll do it. And that's the same whore that's on the roof of the Capitol building, Columbia. See if I can get a good image. There it is. It's very similar. It's holding some book like the Columbia Motion Pictures thing, a flat-chested thing that might be a woman on a pedestal with a light, and come to me in a crown, and it's got those spikes like the original Columbia Motion Pictures thing had a big ball of spikes. It's the same thing, okay? It's the same as that abomination on the roof of the Capitol building, okay? This is America, mad upon her idols. So Columbia, District of Columbia is Washington, D.C. They've got some demonic idol thing that we don't know what sex it is that they worship. There you got it. Now, you can reject it. People will say, oh, it's just D.C. that gets it. No, it's not. When you read Jeremiah 50:51, it's the cities that get it. Now, I want to, before I forget, I was getting some people were talking to me about changing my posture on the Sabbath. And I did change my posture on the Sabbath. If I offended you with that, I'm sorry. Forgive me. If I did this and, forgive me. But for years, I was telling people nobody ever followed the Sabbath in 2,000 years since the 70 AD destruction of the temple because there was no offerings, no priesthood, no altar, no temple, no tabernacle, no nothing. So nobody ever observed the Sabbath correctly, yet we had righteousness. We were saved. We knew we were saved. The gifts of the Spirit, praying in tongues, we knew it, but we never could have observed the Sabbath. So the pieces were there, but I never put them together. And I'm sorry, please forgive me. So I put them together for you. The Lord had me do it. The other day, there was a strong anointing on the teaching, and He had me put it together. And that's it. He doesn't want us running around saying that we're righteous or we're holy. We never ate unclean food. Acts 10, the sheet came down for Peter. I'm giving you a review. I'm not giving you the whole thing. The things on the sheet were not people. It wasn't about people. It was about the animals. He made the animals clean. And then the people were clean because they were not eating unclean food. That's what that was about. But it was about the animals. So, yeah, you could eat pork chops and lobster thermidor all you want if you want to. Your righteousness comes from Yeshua by faith. When you start saying I'm righteous because I observe the Sabbath, and I should have told you this a long time ago, maybe I didn't understand it myself, probably. So what you're doing is you're saying that you're getting your righteousness from only eating certain foods, like an unsaved Jew. And that's wrong. Okay? That's why you're under grace, because your righteousness comes from faith in Yeshua, not from not eating certain kinds of food or observing certain holidays. That's why when we read in the New Testament, there's no punishment for not observing Sabbath. The law is not dead, but the law has changed. The Moses law has changed tremendously. But are we still supposed to go around committing murder and adultery and fornication? Of course not. Okay, we don't do that. That stuff's in the New Testament. When you look for it, you'll see it. I believe it's there. But we don't do things, okay, like that. All right. Now, the Sabbath is a kind of a funny one because when we go to Ezekiel 45, we see the anointed prince in the next temple doing the sacrifices for the Sabbath. So there is some sort of Sabbath worship that happens again. And I don't know exactly if it goes, I mean, it appears we're being told people are going to the temple for Sabbath to watch the offerings and sacrifices, and they're going to walk in one door in one way and go out another way. So there's something's going on with the Sabbath. Okay, but it may not be the same things that were under Moses' law. We're not told that they are. So when you start, I do the Sabbath, I don't eat pork or unclean food, this kind of thing, you're saying your righteousness is coming from Yeshua and following Moses' law. And that's not right. Your righteousness comes only from Yeshua, and that's what God is accepting you on. And when you start adding on these old embellishments, that law, that Moses law, was a schoolmaster to bring us to Christ, not when we're in Christ should we go back to it. And you can't be doing this, because if you're going to work with the Israelites, you're going to snare them. If you start, no, I do Sabbath. No, I don't eat unclean food. You're going to start reinforcing to them to go back to the law. You must understand what they believe is that if I do these things in the law, now that doesn't occur to them that they're not doing anything for 2,000 years with there's no temple and stuff like that, because the rabbis don't teach them that. And whatever the rabbis teach them, they go for, apparently. So they think their righteousness is coming to them, that they're going to go to heaven because they do the Sabbath, they don't eat unclean food, they observe holidays and stuff like this. They never observed a single holiday correctly in their life. There's no temple, no priesthood, no altar, no nothing, okay? So you've been walking around knowing you're a believer, having fruits of the Spirit, and you've never observed Sabbath correctly in your entire life, nor have you ever observed any Moedim correctly in your entire life. But somehow the Satan bots got to us all, and we fell back to Moses' law, but the Lord snapped us out of it, okay? So that's what happened. I don't mean to create strife. I don't like doing this type of thing because it gets people animated, hot, and I'm sorry, but it has to be done. The Lord made it clear to me it has to be done. So please forgive me if you don't like when the Lord told me, okay, you got to teach it this way now. Stop the way you were doing it. I have to do that, and I do it, and I welcome it. I'm glad the Lord enlightened me, and I'm sorry if you're offended. Please forgive me, but I have to do what the Lord says, okay? So that's the reality about these things in Moses' law. Parts of Moses' law will continue, I suppose. Like, love the Lord with your whole heart and your soul. There's things in there that continue, and many things change. Okay, and I got a lot of heat from the false believers when I went away, when I actually started teaching hard about the dietary, where you can eat what you want, and they got nuts with me because they liked me not getting into that because it was keeping people in sin. Okay, when you go to do Yom Kippur and you think that's taking your sins away, you're knocking the salvation Yeshua paid with his life for, that he gave to you for free. You're saying, no, I'm getting it from Moses' law now, as well as Yeshua. You can't do that. You can't get it from Moses' law and Yeshua. It doesn't work that way. You're saved by faith, not by works, and eating the clean food and doing the Sabbath is works. That's not getting you saved. You got to get that down. A lot of us like to think how holy we were and all this stuff, but you're holy because of faith in Yeshua. Remember, Yeshua said, you didn't choose me, I chose you. He is enough. What he did is enough, and just go with it. You don't need the other stuff anymore. What Yeshua did's enough. Accept it. God accepts it. You accept it. Do you get the Holy Spirit by eating clean food and doing Sabbath and Yom Kippur? No, you don't. All right? People get mad at me. The offerings shrink. What do they want me to do? Starve to death? The offerings are so bad. I do what I can do, I do what I can do. Should I not cover the war? People don't like that. How can I not cover the war? I'm stabbing you in the back if I don't cover the wars, because then stuff's going to happen and you're going to be caught ill prepared. That's me doing you a dirty. I can't do that. Okay? I can't do you a dirty. The Lord doesn't want me to do you a dirty. He wants me to watch. So you see the stuff coming before, so you don't get caught ill prepared and go into panic like the others are going to do. Okay, they're going to go into panic. The churches will fall apart. The churches are like dead men walking. They're not going to last. They're about ready to go. All of them. All 2 billion of them going into the church. They're going to fall apart. All right. So let's do Isaiah 47, which is going to talk to us about the daughter of Babylon and its destruction. And we'll see what we can glean. Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dirt, O virgin daughter of Babel. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. This is America. The Chaldeans were the witches in the old Babylon, the soothsayers, fortune tellers, that kind of thing, of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Now, it's on the way with all the problems in America, the economy and all that. Take the millstone and grind meal and uncover thy locks. Make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. So they're saying they're going to walk through the rivers or streams with their clothes hiked up. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. That's the gender confused. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, that means we're thinking year of redemption now. Jehovah of hosts is his name. The Holy One of Israel. Gee, how come it never says the Holy One of Churchianity or the Holy One of America, Sit thou, there's a lot of people that want you to think that, America is the greatest place in the world. They're out of their minds, Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Okay, that's America now. Why do they call it a lady? They're talking about Columbia, District of Columbia, the Lady of Kingdoms. Okay, where do all the nations meet? In New York City at the UN building. They all go there. Where is it? It's in the daughter of Babylon. New York is most likely not the city that gets it. It's Washington, D.C., Columbia. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thy hand. Where are there 6.5 million Jews? About just as many as there are in Israel, basically, in New York in America. Not in New York, in America. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. The ancient means the old ones. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever. So thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear Now this, thou that art given to pleasure, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am and none else besides me. See, that's like what America thinks. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Well, I think Trump used to be that way, but now I think he's really afraid of destruction. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. See, there it is again, in an hour, in a day. This is a moment in one day. It's there. You're not going to see it coming. You're not going to get a lot of warning about the daughter of Babylon. The signs are there. You've seen the signs. You know it. You ignore it. Some know it and heed it, but it's going to happen fast. The loss of children, dead Americans, and widowhood, and shall come, and they shall come upon thee in their perfection. The bad things are going to really hit them. For the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thy enchantments. Do you know, you see these shows, police shows on TV, they sit in the interrogation room where there's a camera and a microphone and they interrogate the guy. Well, let me tell you what really happens. Do those things really happen? Yeah. But how does it really go down when it works? Well, the cop is a witch, and he goes in there and does witchcraft spells and enchantments on the poor slob that they arrested, who could be a very mean, evil person, by the way. And they witchcraft him into copping out, into trying to make a deal. If he's valuable enough, go state's witness. That's what they do. They get them so I've seen it. They get them so discombobulated, they take the side of the law enforcement agency. Hold on a second. I think I got to check this for a second. Oh, I ordered some stuff and they're telling me when it's coming. Okay, so that's how that's done. That's how wicked America is. And the feds, they do that too. Okay. They recruit witches in these federal government positions. That's what they desire. For the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thy enchantments. They're doing this all the time. That's how they sell movies, books, anything, they use in witchcraft for. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, witchcraft. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Wrong. We know all about him, and the angels in Jehovah see him. It's all written down in a book. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee, because their wisdom and their knowledge is only of the darkness. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am and none else besides me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. That's it. They're not getting away. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly. There it is, suddenly. You're not going to get a lot of warning. It's just going to happen, which thou shalt not know. It's going to come suddenly. You're not going to know about it. Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. In America, when they had paper newspapers, which have fallen out of favor, every single newspaper in America carried the astrology. Every single one. They're mad upon their idols. They're crazy with witchcraft. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. See, I will kindle fires in and around your cities. Jeremiah 50:51. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Well, that'll happen. If it happens during this big bad storm in America, it's going to be very bad for people because it's so cold, it's below zero. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast, or it's around zero if it's not below zero, maybe 5 above or something. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander, everyone to his quarter. None shall save thee. That's the people leaving, going back to the countries they came from. They're not really Americans. They were just there for a while, and they apparently get out. Second here. Oh. So that does it mean it's going to be Iran taking one of their boats that's a war boat that looks like a civilian boat and launching drones and missiles at America from offshore? It very, very, very well could be, and it could meet the test of this. Could it also be the Lord throwing fire and brimstone down? I don't see why not. What is it? Well, we'll have to wait and see. We're just going to have to wait. I don't know yet. Could go either way. I tend to lean more towards war, but let's see. We don't know. Let me look at the live stream, see what's going on.
I'm home.
Okay. They're sending that order today.
Okay, I'm gonna switch mommy and you on. I gotta go do Levi.
Yeah, the truth does set you free. That's true. Minnesota with ice, I don't think it's much right now. It's disturbances in the U.S. It's people that want the U.S. to just open their doors to everybody and stuff like that. And there's others that don't. And it's a lot of nothing. That's all I think it is. I don't think it's not going to get that bad. Look, young people, old people, it's the same thing. Read your Bible and believe it. What are they saying here? Let's see. Because those that created Christianity added to and took away, which Torah says not to do. Well, they created their own religion, is what they did do. They don't follow the Bible. None of the churches do. The snow is to me, is to my knees, huge icicles. I've seen snow up to the waist, but the knees is pretty substantial. I mean, it could always be worse. I mean, there's people like I tell people I've seen it go up to my waist, and they'll say they've been in places where you can't open your door because it's covered with snow and all that. And it's real. Up to your knees is bad. And especially if you've got ice underneath it, then it gets dangerous. I lived in New York. I grew up in New York in a Jewish ghetto, and it's ugly when you get the snow. I hated the weather my whole life in New York. I couldn't really. I mean, when it snows, it's kind of nice. You go outside, everything's quiet. The cars aren't moving, and you slop around in the snow, and you could ride your sled, and it's great, but then it becomes a drag. Then the snow turns dirty and it gets slushy and icy and cold and bitter. And it's ugly. I don't like it. We don't really get snow in Israel except in a few places. Mount Hermon, which is a mountain. They have a ski resort there, actually. Well, a ski lift. Then you have Safed, which is about 2,500 feet up, I guess, and they get some snow. And Jerusalem gets snow. I saw Jerusalem get waist deep many, many, many years ago. But it's happened before. They'll get a big blast waist deep. Yeah. People leave their cars in the street and walk home. They're just not used to it. And nobody buys snow tires in Israel that I ever saw. I never saw snow tires for sale anywhere. Oh, you could order them. I guess the dealer would order them for you. The tire store, you could do that. But if you live in Safed or if you live in Mount Hermon, which nobody does, or Jerusalem, you could get snow tires. But they manage to plow and stuff like that. All right, so that's what I got for today. So, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers to be happy, healthy, and whole, and safe and secure, and our animals and pets as well. And I pray we have strength and stamina, and your healing and recuperative power flow through us. And we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no stop, stuck, or stranded. And we can get through this bad weather if it's affecting us, and we don't get discriminated against, picked on, robbed, ripped off, assaulted, frauded, embezzled. And we would have adequate money and then some. And if we need a job, we can get a job. And if we need clients and customers, we get those. And we learn the scriptures better. And we walk in the scriptures. And I also pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I pray we understand more about what's going on with this war thing with Iran. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah. Oh, I also pray we sleep well. We have no witchcraft spells, enchantments on us. You loose all that off of us, my Heavenly Father. And we have no dreams or visions from unclean spirits or those that serve them. And we have no thoughts, ideas, notions from unclean spirits or those that serve them. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I send my, and you can agree with that, even though it's just, it may be just a video, but you can agree with it. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out, and I would appreciate it if you guys understood that my offerings are down extremely low. And that makes me wonder what I'm doing here sometimes. And if this is the right place for me, which I seem to think it is, but I don't know why this happens. Okay. So it does happen, and I don't know why, but it does. All right. And that's, if it gets to a point, then I have to stop, I mean, then I don't have any choice. I don't know if the Lord's pushing me to that point, or it's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's the people, not me. All right. I'm out. Thanks.